Welcome back to Exceptional Talk with Dr. Clark. Today I have two guests, Mr. William Cook and Dr. Vanessa Canty. So we're going to start off with a little introduction. All right, Dr. Canty, you have been on the show before, and then we're going to, Mr. Cook will come on and tell us a little bit about himself, and then he's going to go right on into vocational rehabilitation.
Okay, thanks for having me back. My name is Dr. Vanessa Canty, and I am an educator at Griffin High School, where I work with students with disabilities. I work with various age groups, as well as with various abilities. And I too am working with vocational rehab, and this is going to be a new segment for this upcoming year. So Mr. Cook, I'm looking forward to elaborating on this.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Canty. All right. So, Mr. William Cook, all right. Tell us a little bit about vocational rehab after you tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is William Cook. I'm the transition specialist for Clayton County Public Schools. I've been in education over maybe 25 years. I've been in my present position for about between, let's say, I think I've about 7 years now as the transition specialist for Clayton County Public Schools. So we wanted to talk a little bit about vocational rehabilitation services and what vocational rehabilitation does and how we utilize vocational rehabilitation services. I think first we need to talk about what vocational rehabilitation, what their purpose is. And above anything else, vocational rehabilitation is to help people with disabilities find employment. And so that is their main goal. They're a federally funded program, and that's what their main goal is. What they found out some long time ago is that in order for people to remain on the job, for anybody with a disability to remain on the job, that they needed to start early, which meant that they are now involved with the school age students with disabilities. With that being said, we in Clayton County Public Schools utilize vocational rehabilitation in two ways. One way, let me talk about the more traditional way that we utilize vocational rehabilitation services. Basically, our students that are in their senior year are referred to vocational rehabilitation services for employment after they graduate from high school. I always like to tell people that, and especially parents and even the students, administrators, teachers, that once a student is referred to vocational rehabilitation services, they are the ones that make the determination on what services they can provide for the students, not the school system. We are just the, for lack of a better word, the liaison, the caveat, the connection between the students and vocational rehabilitation services. So when it comes to students, and sometimes you'll hear parents say, well, I want this and I want that if they're with vocational rehabilitation services, that's for them to ask vocational rehabilitation service and not the school system. Mm-hmm. We all know that our students pretty much are matriculated and handed over to those services. The parents, and I always like to say the parents and the students need to be very vocal about what their needs are. We as a school system will provide vocational rehabilitation with everything that they need to have. For example, psychological, IEP, eligibility report, transcript, behavior, attendance records, and the actual application. And once that application, once all those documents, including the application, is given to vocational rehabilitation services, it takes between 30 to 60 days before they will get back to the parents. Now, our vocational rehabilitation specialist, intake specialist, she's the intake specialist for Fulton County, Clayton County, and I believe Henry County. So she has 3 counties that she does the intake for. So that's where we are with that. Vocational rehabilitation also has found that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this program, that to assist our students in becoming quote unquote more work ready, they have offered what they call PreAt Services. So it's pre-employment services for our students. And basically what happens is that they will actually come into the school and provide for lack of a better word, workshops on those soft skills, employment skills for the students, okay? With our students that are in PreAts is totally different from a client or a student being referred to vocational rehabilitation services. So I say that to say that if a student is in PreAts program or has participated in PreAts, that doesn't mean that they're automatically on vocational rehabilitation's role or roster.
Okay. So how would they qualify for PreAt?
What's that, Dr. Clark?
How would they qualify for PreAt?
Good question. It's really simple. As long as the student has an IEP or 504. Yeah, as long as they have that, then that's how that works. Maybe 2 years, I'm gonna say 2 years ago, Clayton County Public Schools ran 2 PreAts program. One of the PreAts program was at Bobby Dodd, and it was really cool because they actually got to work and they got paid. And it was for the entire summer. So half of the day, the students were in the actual workshop doing work, and that's where they got paid. And then the other half of the day, they were in classroom setting, learning those employment soft skills. Okay. Like I said, that ran for an entire summer. We had just about maybe 13 to 14 students in that program that summer. And of course, the next summer, COVID hit, and so we weren't able to do anything.
Yeah, kind of prevented the program.
We are in the process now of getting, hopefully, and I put my quotation marks up, hopefully, to have another PreAts program. It's just going to be a week long. And there is no pay, but it's going to just help kids with those soft skills this year.
Okay. And when you speak in reference of soft skills, just for our listeners to get a better understanding of what you mean about soft skills, what are some of those soft skills that are being
Okay, good question. So when we talk about those soft skills for employment, we're talking about those things that basically not only help you get a job, but help allow you to keep the job. So they will go over with students time management, how to have a discussion with your employer if there's a problem, how to call in if you're not going to be at work, anything that will allow you to keep your job. Those activities, those behaviors to help our students keep a job, because we know working with our students a lot of times that they need some work as far as with those soft skills, making sure that they understand what the process is on a particular job. If, like, for example, if an employer says, well, you need to call in 2 days, call in, if you want to take a day off, you need to call in 2 days early. Right. So those are some of the subjects. I'm just kind of give you an example of some of the things that they will talk about with the soft skills. And in addition to that, go over how to complete an application, how to interview appropriately, all those things that not only help you keep the job, but also things that help you get a job.
Yeah, and those things are very important because a lot of times we don't all know how to how to conduct an interview. And, and it starts with being able to identify what it is that you do. And that's that resume, and having to be able to even create a resume, appropriately and how it should be done. So Dr. Canty is also doing pretty much the same thing. And we're talking about 2 different counties, but we are all trying to make sure that these students are getting these services. So Dr. Canty, just kind of chime in a little bit about I'm
eager to jump in. Okay. Here's some things that Mr. Cook is saying. And because we're in different counties, because I actually started out in Clayton County with Mr. Cook, and Mr. Cook, I'd like to share with you, and I don't know if you're actually familiar with that, because the Voc Rehab person that I work with out of Spalding County, Griffin Spalding. We have what's called virtual job shadow.
Right.
If you guys are not linked into that, please get there. It is awesome. Right. It is an awesome tool, and it gives some of those, as well as we're still developing the portfolio that we did when I was in Clayton, where we're trying to give them an actual hard artifact to have with them at graduation, as far as our seniors.
Okay.
And we do use the same process as far as you said with seniors, and then with our 9th through 11th grade, we are starting next year. We're actually doing what's called a 12+ program, where we start with our 9th grade and we try to build up to that senior year, doing those soft skills.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I was just sharing Ms. Clark, the point of rehab. She just shared with me there's a program that's going to be the 2nd and 3rd week of July, and it's called Smart Talk. Smart Talk or Sharp Talk. And they're going to be working this summer. Once again, like you said, we're trying to find places that will actually pay the students, because before COVID started, we actually had several organizations that were willing to hire our kids after going through a training, where they would give them a sort of a stipend. Okay. And that's the goal and the focus for this year.
Right. I got an opportunity to, for the first time, I got an opportunity to talk to, and this is something else that we're going to be doing this year, Dr. Canty and Dr. Clark too, is I had talked to my coordinator about it, and I was telling her that, you know, especially with our seniors, and Dr. Canty, you can chime in on this, especially with our seniors, and our really high functioning seniors, you know, a lot of times when they get to that point, if they're on track to graduate, they'll kind of give them filler classes, you know, like, I'm just using that like course or something like that. And so I had an opportunity to speak with the employment specialist for vocational rehabilitation specialists, and I was able to talk to our CTA director with Clayton County Public Schools. Awesome. And what we're going to push this year is we're going to push to the counselors, and we're also going to have a meeting with the counselors for our DES students. Let's give them work-based learning. Okay?
Absolutely.
Work-based learning, because what vocational rehabilitation will do, if that job will end up to be a permanent job, okay, they will pay the salary for them at work-based learning.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do y'all have what's called community-based instruction? Because I have my CDL, I actually take my kids to a job site.
Right. Exactly. So and
that was a plus, because I had several willing to hire them.
Right. Exactly. And see, that's great that you have that. So you can take the students there, and like you said, they can hire them. Well, in Clayton County, of course, I don't have my CDL. I'm just a transition specialist, but that could be something that we can look at as far as in the future. But that's something that and I was able to talk to an employment specialist. We're also in the process of, and we haven't gotten it off the ground yet, of doing some other things, possibly with the airport, but we haven't gotten that off the ground in collaboration with them. So with that being said, vocational rehabilitation will actually, we're anticipating that they're going to be playing a major role in our actual programs this year. I even talked to a couple of our counselors and said, this year, what I would like to do is I want you guys to come to the schools. I want vocational rehabilitation, our actual counselors, to come to the school and see our actual work programs, our work programs, and our COPS programs, our career employment programs, career orientation programs, and look and see what we're doing. And you can also give us some suggestions on if we, some things that we can improve on, some things that we can make the transition a lot smoother for our kids. And that's something that I also found that we're kind of lacking sometimes, is that we don't have that connect as far as, okay, vocational rehabilitation, what are you looking for? So that we can work on it in the school, so that when the transition happens, it's a smoother transition. I also like to say that, and to our listeners out there, is that a lot of, and we're talking as educators, but we really, really need the input of our parents. We can't do it all on our own. Vocational
Absolutely.
education can't do it on their own.
Absolutely.
So it can even be a situation, and I'm just going to kind of throw this out there. You know, if Thomas, I'm just using this as an example, if Thomas is in the 12th grade, you know, it's nothing wrong with Thomas start applying if he's going to be working. Go ahead on and start applying for jobs. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead on and fill out.
And that's the time they should be, you
and
know.
that's the time they should be. Because what can actually happen, I'm just using this as an example. If Thomas gets employed, then we can go to vocational rehabilitation, you know, and of course fill out the paperwork and everything like that and do the evaluation. Say, okay, hey, listen, we got Thomas here working. He may need some support. Can you possibly provide some support for Thomas? And they'd be like, oh, well, you know, let's look into that. In fact, I've had that to happen before some years ago, where vocational rehabilitation was able to provide a job coach for the student. So those are just some of just one example about.
Okay, great.
So yeah,
And all those things are really good to know that this is being, you know, services are being provided inside the school. But when we talk about when they're transitioning back into the community and they're, you know, they're graduating and they have nowhere to go and nothing to do, you know, this is why this program is so vital, is because I want the community to know that there are things that can happen for their child, even like you say, when they're transitioning from high school to the real world. So, you know, to have something available for them to do and to go, that is something that we're actually really looking at. And it's very important because, like you say, when they learn those soft skills and learn how to do all of the things that are compiled when you're looking for a job, it's important to learn while you're in school. But what happens when you, you know, leave school? You know?
Right. So those are just some.
And that's one of the benefits of starting early. I'm sorry, Mr. Cook.
Go ahead.
That's one of the benefits of starting early, as well as even if they don't start at the 9th grade, we get them as seniors and we can continue to work with them. And because they are still eligible for Voc Rehab even after they graduate, if they graduate as 18, 17, and 18-year-olds.
Right, exactly.
And that's a one good thing that parents need to know that. You know, a lot of times until we have our meetings, you know, and introduce, you know, what programs are available, most oftentimes parents don't ask. So, you know, so this is a one good avenue where we can allow the parents to understand that these are services that are being provided while they're in school, you know, and we want them to understand what it is about vocational rehabilitation, because a lot of times there's some misconceptions, you know. So I am happy to have both of you on so that you can explain, and parents don't hesitate. Please leave comments for either Mr. Cook or Dr. Canty, and I will definitely make sure that they get those questions so they can answer them for you. But what we're going to do is right now, we're going to stop with part 1, and we're going to come back on with part 2. Mr. Cook, Dr. Canty, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. We're going to come back, and then we're going to start part 2. So to our listeners, please don't hesitate to ask questions. Remember to leave a leave a comment, and subscribe. Thank you for being here with us on Exceptional Talk with Dr. Clark.